Being a good citizen is one of the cornerstones of a good society. It is a status Citizens Bank takes seriously. In the first of a series of programs, we are profiling the bank and its work in the community. Ned Handy is the new president of Citizens Bank in Connecticut and Rhode Island. Hi, Ned. I know you very well because you've been part of the New Haven community for quite some time.
I have. I've got a warm spot in my heart for all of Connecticut and New Haven in particular, and with the work we do with you in partnership at News 8, it's great.
That's right. In that program, the bank actually, I believe, provides, what, $25,000 quarterly to a nonprofit organization?
We do. Champions in Action, and we pick an agency each quarter in a category and provide them with untethered funds for $25,000. Plus, in partnership with News 8, we give community volunteerism, we give airtime, and you guys it's a great partnership.
Well, we are proud to be part of that with you. Let's talk about how this bank has really grown.
Yeah, it's amazing. Over the 15 years that I've been here, it's grown incredibly. Part of an international bank, but I think the most important thing continues to be that we stay local and we stay very focused on the community and involved in the community, and through partnerships like ours, I think do great work very locally despite our size.
Well, I like to call you guys as a little big bank.
Yeah, that's right. Small enough big enough to matter, small enough to care, I like to say.
Absolutely. And small business customer service recognition, apparently you guys have something there for your folks?
We have. The ATH survey just announced that we're one of the top 10 providers to small business nationally, and especially in our market where we focus very much on the small business community. We think small business is a huge part of the overall economy, and we put a lot of effort into providing great experience and great service culture for small business. So this is a nice recognition of those efforts.
But you also do all kinds of things, as we just mentioned, for the community. But what other things do you do? I understand you're part of Read to Grow?
We sure are, and we have been for a long time. Read to Grow is a great agency in Connecticut. 100,000 books a year to kids born in Connecticut. Now, I think nearly 50% of the children born in Connecticut leave with a book, and there they are.
There they are, reading those books.
That's
Literacy is a big issue here in Connecticut, as you know. Is that why you're part of this?
Yeah, sure is. And to have 50% of the kids born in the state go home with a book starts them on the right path, and wonderful program.
Well, we talked about the Champions in Action program just a few minutes ago, but let's talk more about what people can do now, because it's tough as they're shopping for the holidays, and they're trying to keep in mind, of course, what they need versus their wants. So let's go through some of the tips that people need to know.
That's great. I mean, healthy communities are made up of healthy consumers, and so I think all of us are being more careful this year than perhaps in years past, just given the external environment. Some things that we like to suggest: make a list, stick with it, make a budget. Stick with it.
Let's go with that. Set up a spending budget first of all. Okay, what are we talking about there when we say spending budget?
Understand how much you can afford to spend and stick with it. Don't overspend. Don't go beyond your means, and make a realistic assessment of what you have available to spend.
And that can be kind of painful when you look at the realistic picture.
Right. And I think this is a year where some of that spending, I would urge everyone to think about spending that little bit of money on others in need.
And then you say, make a list.
Know what you're going to buy. Make a list. Be careful about what you're. Don't be caught up in the whir of it. Understand what you're going to buy and stick with it.
And I guess most people just don't understand what they need to make a list for their needs versus their wants, and maybe sprinkle in a little bit of both.
I think
when you make that list.
That's great advice. I think this is a year where the needs should be met, and if there's some left over, then of course enjoy. But be in the. I think this is also a year to be in the spirit of it. Really understand that there are those that have less.
Exactly, and actually you get a good feeling giving something, even if it's something small or your time. We'll talk more about the volunteerism, because I know that's part of it. It's something you guys do a lot.
Right.
Also, you say don't bring all your credit cards? What is that? What do you mean by that?
I think people can get in trouble if they have multiple ways to spend money, and so one of the thoughts we have is bring one credit card. Limit yourself and stay within your means, and better yet, use a debit card that goes right into your account, so you know that the money is available and that you're not incurring debts that you might not be able to pay off.
That's right, and those interest rates are crazy, aren't they?
They sure are.
Yes, you say use credit cards wisely.
Correct. And I think the consumers are great. The layaway plans that you can get, the plans that you can do to create accounts in your bank to save over time, I think are great ideas. There are lots of different things that banks have done for the consumer to be smart about how they spend money.
Do you have an account where you can establish for like holidays, like a Christmas bank account?
We do, the old Christmas bank account.
That still exists?
I don't think we call it a Christmas bank account, but it's a savings plan that works very much like the old Christmas accounts and just helps people to think about saving.
That's good. You also say really write down the credit and debit info.
Yeah, it's smart to have a secure place where you've got your credit card numbers written down, not with you, not on your person, separate from the cards themselves, so that you, in case you lose one or one gets stolen.
Yes, heaven forbid, but that happens during the holiday season.
It can, unfortunately, and so it's good to have a record of the numbers somewhere safe, probably somewhere at home.
Exactly. All right, and you say also, you already said consider layaway.
Right, layaway is a great idea. If you can put it away today and pay for it over time and take delivery of the goods later on down the road. It's a little late. We're getting a little close to the day, but layaway is always a good idea.
But the bottom line here is we're trying to get people not to be in such deep debt 6 months from now.
Right. We know what that brings, and it's challenging, and these are challenging times. And so all of these tips are aimed at helping people stay ahead of that curve.
Of course, the last thing, start savings plan, which is what we also touched upon just a minute ago.
Yeah, savings plans are great, and we grew up with them, and they still exist, and it's a great way to put yourself in a mindset of saving for the future.
I know that you talk to a lot of customers in the banks. What are they telling you now this time of the year? Is it a tough situation for many?
Yeah, it is, and it's more stressful this year than in years past, and people are, I think, being careful, and I think people are taking a proactive role in their own finances and really planning and thinking. Some of these tips that we talked about, my sense is that everyone's aware of them, and people are being smarter this year than they have in the past.
Also, we were saying how this is the time of the year to give of yourself. Volunteerism.
Yeah, it's just, it's not what you get, it's what you give, and there's so many people in need, and all of us, no matter where we are in life, all of us can give a little bit, and I think that collective effort will get us through these tough times and make us all feel a little bit better while we're doing it.
Absolutely, and so we don't have to be doing it just during the holiday season. We need to be doing it throughout the year.
I agree. The consistency of it is what's important, and to even out some of the ebbs and flows.
Very good. All right. For more information on these tips and anything else you need from Citizens Bank, just go to citizensbank.com. Ned, thanks so much for being here. It's great to see you again.
It's such a pleasure again. Yeah, nice to be with you.
Thank you. Coming up next, we'll tackle some of the biggest challenges people are facing today and what we can do to make a difference. Those facing some of the biggest challenges during these difficult times are the homeless and people just fighting to keep food on the table.
With the current economic climate, they're often our neighbors, friends, and even members of our own families. Joining us now is Ned Handy, president of Citizens Bank in Connecticut and Rhode Island, Carol Walter of the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness, and Kellyanne Day from the New Haven Home Recovery. I want to thank you all for being here today. So we're talking about a serious issue about homelessness. And Carol, let's start with you. How big of a problem is this in Connecticut?
Our homeless shelters and our crisis response system for people who become homeless has been overrun in Connecticut. We recently did a study that showed almost half of the families in shelter had been homeless. It was the first time they'd been homeless, so they'd never been homeless before. We're also finding that increasing numbers of people are having a harder time getting out of shelter, with the numbers of chronic homeless or long-term homeless increasing.
And Kellyanne, tell us first of all what New Haven Home Recovery is and what are you seeing there?
Sure. New Haven Home Recovery operates a number of programs, but two of our programs are homeless shelters for women and children. And what we've been seeing is a 355% increase this year in the number of requests for family shelters. So folks are calling every single day asking for shelter, and the shelters are full. And so what we try to do is we try to get them placed in other shelters outside of the city or in another town. But really, as Carol mentioned, the problem is helping folks find affordable and supportive housing to move them out of the shelter.
And so, Ned, what is your role in this?
Yeah, you've heard the statistics. I mean, the problem has never been this big, and these are the agencies, Carol and Kellyanne's, that have their finger on the pulse. They know what's going on, and so for us to be able to support their efforts, we consider ourselves fortunate to be able to work with such great partners.
So are you seeing it that this is really an economic reality?
Absolutely. It's a cost to society, and it's a cost to consumers and to the health of our communities, and so we all need to pull together to help agencies like these make a difference.
Now, Kellyanne, would you say it's worse in the wintertime, around the holiday season, or is this a year-round problem?
We've seen this to be a year-round problem this year, and in fact, sometimes family shelters are actually a little slower during the holidays because people are more generous and they let families stay with them. And we usually see an increase in the summer when school's out. That's when sometimes folks are saying, well, we'll let you stay with us until the child finishes school and then you have to go. But this year it's not the case. This year, for example, we have a family coming into our shelter today. It's a few days before Christmas, and that family's moving into our shelter today. So we've not seen a slowdown at any time of the year this year.
Well, Carol, what are you seeing from your situation? Overall, are agencies calling you and saying, we really need a lot of help?
Yeah, agencies are having trouble meeting the demand, and they're having trouble moving people on. So it is not only that there's more and more calls, but it's gotten more and more difficult to find the resources in our communities to help people get out of shelter. Shelter, when people do need to turn to a shelter, it should be a relatively short experience. And certainly when you're thinking about children, you want them back in housing as quickly as possible. And that's getting more and more difficult.
I mean, the reality is if the shelter is closed, what happens? Or you're at capacity?
We've had folks live in motels on their credit cards until their credit card companies have said, I'm sorry, you're maxed. We've had families living in their car. And as I said, sometimes they have to move to a different town, which is very disruptive for the children's education and schooling. And some of our folks are working, so it's sometimes quite a juggling act to try and figure out how to get the children to school and how to get to work on time and how to look for an apartment and a place to live.
There's also people who camp outside, less prevalent among families than singles, but we do an outdoor count every January. We'll be doing one on January 26th, and it is quite striking how many folks camp, under bridges or out in the woods.
It's a very sad situation.
It's an extremely sad situation. Today actually happens to be Homeless Persons Remembrance Day nationally. And it's the shortest day of the year, it's the solstice, and communities, including New Haven, throughout the state and the country, remember people who we've lost over the past year who were homeless. Now, some of them might we lose because of exposure to the elements, but there's also a lot of people experiencing homelessness who are frail medically, and the stress of living in shelter and hopping from place to place certainly contributes to poor health.
How can people help? How could our viewers at home?
I think it's a great question. I hope everyone understands that these are the real stories, and these are the things that we can all pitch in a little bit, and it doesn't matter how much you have to give. Every little bit counts, and we need to pull together and help these guys end this. Put them out of business, I think, would be a great thing.
So, Ned, are you going out into the community to encourage other businesses to join you in helping to fight this fight?
Absolutely. Across all of New England, across all of our footprint, we are out encouraging people to participate, helping out where we can, helping out with volunteerism, handing out Christmas baskets, handing out food and toys. It's anything that we can do. And what we find is that our colleagues can't wait. They're chomping at the bit to help out. And so we find ourselves working hard to give them the opportunities.
That's great.
What is probably the biggest need that you would love right now? What is it that you guys really need?
Right now, New Haven Home Recovery could really use donations of new pillows. With so many people coming into the shelter, it's really nice to give folks a new pillow when they come in, and also a pillow that they can take with them. It's something that some folks don't often think of, but that's something that we need right now, as well as volunteers at our Furniture Co-op, which is a program that gives away furniture to people when they move out. But folks can check out our website, and there's a more detailed list of the things that we need.
Very good. We want to thank Citizens Bank for supporting the community. For more information, you can go to their website.